Well guys, we're out here today picking figs, trying to stay ahead of all the creatures. This is the one thing right here that we're having to contend with. It's raining every day. We get anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches of rain every day. And before the fig ever starts getting ready, it opens up on the end and splits. We still go ahead and pick them when they get ripe. Those will go into making candied figs. These others here will go into making whole figs. Miss Wanda's been canning a lot of figs here in the last week. She's made whole figs, candied figs, syrup. She's made fig syrup, all this kind of stuff, guys. We're just enjoying our crop of figs this year. It is a bountiful crop. But just like everything else, you got to beat the critters to it. They are everywhere. All the birds want them. And so far, we're able to stay ahead of that, which is a good thing. Well, one thing a lot of people worry about is on the fig, they're worried that they're going to be eating a bug on the inside of them. Guys, a fig doesn't put on blooms like a normal tree does. The fig itself is a bloom. That is a bloom. The bloom is inverted. It's actually on the inside of the fig in there. When the fig is green, the little wasp goes down and lays its egg in it. When there's just a little tiny hole in the end of it, you can see how little tiny those holes are. And when the female goes in and lays the egg, her wings get drug off as she goes in. And when she lays the egg, she has no way to fly or anything. And the fig, as it matures, actually digests the little wasp that's in there. And the wasp is so tiny, it's like a millimeter long or something like that. It's really tiny. And I think you probably get more bugs in your chocolate in the store than you do in one of these figs. So don't let that bother you about figs. A lot of people seem to want to freak out about that, but I wouldn't really worry about it. It's not a big deal. We go ahead and destem ours. Now the latex will get all over you, and some people that latex irritates. Miss Wanda's got a video coming up about how she's canning her figs, and I think in that video she's going to explain to y'all about the latex and how to get it off of your cookware and stuff like that, because there is a secret to it, to getting it off of all your cookware, because if you don't know that secret, you can scrub and scrub and scrub and it's not coming off. I mean, it's just going to be there. This latex that they actually put off, some people is allergic to it. And I call it latex because to me that's really what it is. They have a scientific name for it. But you don't want to pick figs if you're really highly sensitive to this. You don't want to pick figs if they're wet or if it's been raining or something like that, because what will happen is your fingers will actually begin to split and bust on the ends and bleed. And believe me, I've seen people who have that problem. Wanda has that problem. And it's almost impossible to get your hands to heal in a very short period of time. It just takes a long time before they'll actually heal. Now me, my hands are almost like leather. They don't even, it doesn't bother me at all.
Hey guys, welcome to the kitchen. I'm Wanda, and today we're going to be doing whole figs. I'm trying to get everything ready. I'm going to try and walk you through the whole process and show you some of the things that I do to can whole figs. First, the recipe. For all of you that asked for me to put it in the description, no, I don't do that. I don't take that time, but you select firm, ripe, uncooked figs. We take ours off the tree so they're fresh. You wash them thoroughly. And you clean in clean water and you drain them. Do not peel or remove the stem ends. Okay, so what we're going to talk about there, I'll show you in a minute. But you do take the stems off, not the stem ends. There's a difference. You cover the figs with water and boil them 2 minutes and then drain them. Then we make a light syrup. I use 1 cup of sugar to 4 cups of water. You boil them gently in the light syrup for 5 minutes. You add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each jar, 1 tablespoon to each pint. So 2 tablespoons to a quart, 1 tablespoon to a pint. You fill them with the hot juice that you just boiled them in, the syrup, and you leave a 1/2-inch headspace. You clean the tops, you put your lids and rings on, and paints process in a hot water bath canner for 45 minutes. Quarts go for 50 minutes. A gallon of raw figs will yield you approximately 2 quarts of canned whole figs. So these figs were picked fresh off our tree. Now when it's talking about a stem end, that is the stem end. You want to take the stem off, but you want to leave this. And you do not want to peel them. You want to leave them just like this. This is what, and they are a touch green. For most people, they don't like this because they are a touch green. But these make the best whole figs because they don't go mushy on you. They're still kind of firm. We catch them usually like this one, just turning. And that's when we want them for whole figs. Now, any figs that are like this, and the reason they're like this is we have a lot of rain. They're starting to bust now. These are best if you will take and put them in strawberry figs or candied figs or whatever. I usually take these out and separate them for something else. You can make jelly out of them. Lots of ways, syrup, anything can be made out of these figs. It makes some of the prettiest jelly and syrup you've ever seen in your life. And over here, I have my beeswax, or bees wrap, I guess you'd call it. I was sent these by a subscriber, and this is amazing. I love these things. I throw them over stuff in my kitchen all the time. It saves having to have a lid on something or using a whole lot of paper towels and stuff. Cleanup's easy. These can be washed. These things come in handy. We had to run to town, and I have 2 bowls here that have figs in them. What we do, I have them frozen. And see, they're still not unfrozen yet, but I'll put them under some warm water and finish thawing them out. But we pick our figs and put them in a gallon Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer till we have enough. These 2 bowls were in gallon bags in the freezer for the past week. We would just add to it daily till we got the bags full. And you see how pretty. You leave them intact. When I dump these in hot water, they're going to go a touch mushy, but that's okay. They're not going to just go away. They'll be fine. But I save up my figs until I'm ready to can, and we're going to be doing whole figs today. Now, I have one of my big stainless pots on the stove. I've put 5 quarts of water. This is the 6th quart of water. And I've already put 5 cups of sugar. This is the 6th cup of sugar. And we're going to stir this and get this light syrup cooking so that when I get my figs cleaned and ready, and then we're going to put them in boiling water for 2 minutes. We're going to take them out, put them in this for a minute or 2, and then we're going to start jarring. So we've got to get jars ready. We've got to get water on for just blanching figs. I am going back to putting my lids over in some hot water before I put them on my jars. Now here I have some of the no name and some of the ball, and these ball came on the jars. They were not bought in a box, and we're going to see how they do. And we're going to put some of those in there. And we're going to do a combination of both. My water's not hot yet, but I'm not getting it boiling. I'm just going to get it to the point that it's hot. So the lids are hot. You don't want to boil it. I'll probably keep it on about a 2 or so just to keep them warm when we start to jar up lids. Now, my oven I put on its lowest setting, which is 170. And I went ahead and put my jars in here. That way I can take out a warm jar, I'll have a warm lid, and my figs are going to be hot, and then they're going into hot water. All right, I just washed these figs, and you see there's a stem that came off. When you're washing, look for this, because when you're picking, it's always easy to leave something. You want to take that off, and you just want to leave this like it is. And so I found a couple of them as we were picking that we didn't get off. Now any that were kind of mushy or split, I've put over here. That gives me some to start with. You see how they split in the end? Some of them were pretty mushy. We'll use those for another project. But as you're washing, that's what you want to look for. The stems, get those off, and any mushy ones. Now we're ready to put these in our boiling water to blanch them. I only put this smaller boiler here, or pot, and I've got it half full of water because I'm only going to do a few figs at a time, because you want 2 minutes in here and then a couple of minutes in here, and then you're going to be jarring. So I'm going to have a round robin going. I'm going to have all my figs cleaned, 2 minutes in here, 2 minutes in here, jarring them up, because you don't want them to sit in this water or this water for very long. You want them in and out as fast as possible. So I'm going to be kind of round robining, going fast with it, and I'm going to try and set up a big camera where you can just see from a distance. But fresh figs in here or frozen. I'm going to put the frozen ones through warm water, so they're not going to be frozen anymore. But fresh figs in here, blanched figs in here, jars set up here. We're going to put these in jars, and then we have, this canner here has hot water in it. I can't put it on the stove because I'm running out of room right now for all these big pots, but it already has hot water in it, and we're going to be putting them over in here. And as soon as we get the canner full, this will come off, and we will be putting the canner here. One thing with this water here, you do not put this water in your jars. Just saying. The syrup and the figs, once they go in there, goes in your jars. This water is to get any particles, anything off the figs before putting them over there in your syrup to go in jars. So this water I may have to add to have enough to do all the figs I'm doing today. If you're only doing a couple of a gallon or two, this will probably be sufficient, but I'm doing about 3 to 4 gallons today. So I'm going to show you the process on the first couple of jars. This water is ready for the fresh figs. I have one of my little strainers. We're going to put this in here. And you have to be careful, because if they splash, they'll burn you. But once you get a few in there, the others will kind of fall in on top of it. We're going to do 2 minutes. As the figs boil in this water for 2 minutes, they turn really green. All the color comes off, seems like, in this water. And then we're going to transfer them. But that's what they look like when they start in this blanching mode here. I'm just going to take this and drop them over in the syrup that's already hot and boiling. Alright, this water's going to continue to boil. I'm going to add in more figs, but we're going to go ahead and take these out. These have to go 5 minutes in the syrup, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're timing that. They're back up to a boil. We're going to go ahead and get our jars ready. Remember, my jars are here. We're going to be getting one out in just a minute and getting ready to put that in, because we got 5 minutes on that canner. Okay, we're going to try and film this because I'm not out in the canning kitchen. Danny still has his tractor out there. Try to do this from an angle here. Now I took the hot jar out of the oven, and always remember it's hot. Don't reach and grab it, because you'll tend to want to do that. And these figs are boiling hot. They've been boiling for 5 minutes in the syrup. And I have the next batch in the water ready for the syrup, so I have to hurry up and get these out and in jars. Now, some of these will bust a little bit when you're boiling them that much, especially the frozen ones. The ones that are in this stuff is frozen. You're going to want syrup and figs. So I'm using my ladle to just pour these figs in. And We're running a time clock because I only have a couple of minutes to get this done and get the next figs in this juice. Now we don't want to forget the lemon. We're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of lemon into this. And before I pour the rest of the figs in the juice, that's why I have this rubber mat. I just want to make sure they bounce down a little bit. I want to put 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in here. And the lemon juice is for tartness, citric acid, preservation, remain in color, all the whole 9 yards. You remember they were kind of green looking. You see how green looking they are? But let me put it where I can get this one down in there. Okay, my figs are down below this line here. And I'm going to finish filling with the juice. And you see the juice has a touch of a pink color. So that's what you want right there. You want the figs and the juice to this bottom rim. And this is a sweet syrupy thing. Get a cloth. You can use vinegar. You can use soap and water. You can use a napkin with vinegar. Whatever it takes for you to get it clean. I have my lids over in warm water here. It's hot. I won't burn my hand, but we're going to cap this. And this is where your cloths come in handy because this is warm. You want to make sure it's tight. We're going to put it in a water bath canner for 50 minutes. Isn't that gorgeous? That's all there is. 50 minutes in a water bath canner now. And this is a no-name lid that I've got on this one. So we're going to see no-name versus the lids that came with the jars. Alright, so this is the second jar. I had 2 jars of the fresh figs. You see they're staying together. They're whole. They're beautiful. And we're putting them in this canner right here, which is not on the stove yet because I'm still using the water to blanch, but Danny's fixing to sit this one on the stove for me. And remember, this water gets poured out. You do not want to use this for anything. It's dirty. I only had half a jar right now until these get boiled. It's okay to have just half a jar. You can process half a jar. You just put your syrup in and process it. I've had many people ask that. You could go get a pint jar and just fill a pint jar and be done with it. But it is okay if you cover them really well and process half or 3/4 of a jar. It's not going to hurt anything, put it that way. So these figs got 5 minutes, and then we're going to finish filling the jar, fill a couple more, and the water bath counter's already on the stove. I've got it heating up because it's going to take a little while to get it to boiling. Once it starts boiling, 50 minutes for quarts. These are the figs that were in the freezer. You see here I've got one that busted a little bit, but for the most part, most of them stayed pretty whole. In the juice, you have, like under here, you see one over here. You can just pick those out, put them in your mushed figs for candied figs or strawberry figs, and just put the rest of them, the whole figs, in your jar. Last jar, this makes 7. This canner holds 7 quarts, and it's not quite up to boiling yet, so we're gonna put the lid back on it. The water is covering the tops of the jars, about maybe 1 inch. And someone asked why I covered the jars about 1 inch. It's because the Bald Blue Book says to cover them 1 inch. All I know is that the whole jar is submerged in water, and it boils not at a rapid boil, but at a medium to low boil, so your jars aren't clanking together. You can see that it covers my jars about an inch. And you can see the bubbles starting to come up. I'm going to give it about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to set the timer. And let that absorb some of the moisture off the top of them. And then we let them cool. See if we hear any pops. Okay guys, I've got 7 quarts out of my canner. Actually, I have 8 here. Out of these 2, this one just came out of the fridge. It was done in this time last year. It's a year old. Danny's going to kind of test them and tell you what it tastes like. But you can see the color hasn't changed in a year and all. And we did no-name lids versus ball lids. All 7 so far have sealed. Looks great. Had no problems. All these tomatoes, some of them were no-name, some of them were ball, are sealed. So I want you to tell them what a whole fig kind of tastes like. Lots of people don't even know.
It looks just like a regular whole fig. It still tastes like a fig. It's just a touch bit sweeter. I'm going to guess that this one just had light syrup used on it.
I only use light syrup in all of them.
Okay, because figs are already almost all sugar anyway, so they're perfect. I mean,
you like the fig taste more than a lot of sugar.
Oh yeah, I don't care for the sugar taste. I'm that way with anything. I don't care what you do. I don't like, when I eat something, I want to taste the product. I don't want to taste sugar. I eat them every morning with breakfast. I usually cook about 4 to 5 eggs and for my protein source. And I usually like something sweet to go with it. I'll either do canned pears, canned peaches that we have, or canned apples, or the whole figs, either one. And I'll usually put, I mean, I know the daily recommended thing for figs, I think, is like 3 to 4 figs per day, but I'll eat 10 or 15 of them at a time. These look like maybe the ones that were overripe and you just cooked them down?
Yes, I added a half a cup of the light syrup and about maybe half a cup of sugar to kind of candy them down. So these are going to be sweeter. And they just cooked about an hour and a half.
I see the steam coming off of them, so I know they're hot. And I know better than to stick something sugary in my mouth that's hot, because it will stick to your mouth. Believe it or not, it's still got the figgy taste to it.
It's not overly sweet?
It's not overly sweet. You poured the fig juice back into this then?
Yes.
Okay, that must be what it is, because it still has a figgy taste, and it's a little bit, it's sweeter than this, but it's still not overly sweet. You know, I mean, it's pretty good.
Whole figs. It's a way to do it. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.